1.
Great, thank you. This is a Littleton City Council special meeting. It is Thursday, March 25. It is, what time is it? It is 6:04. 6:04 p.m.
And are we ready for Beth Ann?
Yeah, so tonight we're going to have interviews for the Historic Preservation Board. We have 4 interviews, and we are now ready for our first interview.
Here she comes.
Thank you. Hello, how are you doing, Beth? You go by Beth Ann or Beth?
Just Beth.
Yes, Beth. All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. So we have about 10 minutes to spend some time with you, and you've been through this routine already. So I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Grove.
Hi, Beth. Welcome. Thank you. We'll have a quick 10-minute interview, and if we have some time, you can ask a question or two. We've already interviewed you, but it was for a different board. So I have a couple questions. Have you read the powers and duties document for this board?
No, I just found out about the interview yesterday. So
okay. Well, I'm going to ask you. I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll ask you if you have any concerns about performing these duties.
Okay.
Basically, what the Historical Preservation Board is make recommendations to City Council on historic districts, on landmarks, and design guidelines concerned with historic buildings. There's an education aspect, walking tours if you're interested, and they review applications to changes to historic buildings. And the meetings are held on the 3rd Monday of the month at 6:30. Any concerns about performing those duties?
No, not at all.
Okay. Are you familiar with the mission of the Historical Preservation Board? Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about that, and I'll call it HPB from now on because it's a mouthful. HPB works to preserve the built environment, so mainly dealing with buildings that gives Littleton a unique sense of place. It encourages reinvestment and compatible growth, which enhances Littleton's economic vitality. How might you advance that mission? I mean, what does that mean to you, or what do you think of the mission?
Well, when you were describing the policies, when you came to the educational aspect, you went, ooh, but the walking tours. I think I could contribute by the educational aspect if that seems like a place that needs some growth. That'd be a great way to get in the next generation on the idea. Okay. And then in general, I think it's kind of trending now, and especially with the code changes in downtown Littleton. I'm in downtown Littleton. But just aesthetics in general, interior design, exterior design is just a big thing. So I, like everyone else, enjoy it.
Okay. Describe how you've been personally inspired by a Littleton preservation project, if you're familiar with that. Anything going on downtown?
Well, I was a student at Outlaw Yoga in Littleton. I was downtown all the time, daily, if not every other day. So I'm not aware of any particular projects, but just being involved with all the activities downtown, paying attention to all the changes and remodel jobs. They aren't overwhelming. The town does a great job of making them make the downtown area still function, but you can see the small changes. The new stores come in and out, and it's nice to just watch that evolve.
Do you have any ideas of what other areas besides downtown are worth preserving?
Oh, yeah. Obviously, anything close to the river, we have to keep that clean. We have to keep it updated. And then I've got the path right by my house that connects downtown Littleton to the river. A lot of people don't even know it's there, though. So when I speak to people in the area about it, so more outreach programs linking the downtown and all of the areas to each other and advertising that, because I feel like it is very well designed, but many people aren't aware.
Are you, other than the past and the linkages, are there any buildings that you can think about that you might want to preserve or other areas?
Yeah, I would say I kind of noticed the ones that are lackluster, the ones that need upkeep. The old, I don't know what it even was, an abandoned brewery off of Church, no, let's see, it's Nevada Street, 1 block from Nevada. It's got the high tower. Do you guys know which one I'm talking about? The white and red building. It looks like a haunted tower at this point, and it's kind of like the thing you see from a distance as you go into downtown Littleton. So that to me
Are
is
you
like,
talking
why
about
are
the mill?
Yes.
The mill, okay, yes, yes.
Yeah, so
That's a
things like that,
national
I tend to
landmark.
notice like that could use some beautification right there. That's not the way we probably want it to be perceived.
It used to
Or
be,
repurposing it
yeah,
altogether.
it used to be a restaurant. It was very, very cool, but it's unfortunately they are not using it as such. So yes, I get that, but it's kind of stands out in downtown. HPB is a quasi-judicial board, which means sometimes the group acts as a judge, basically on land use or building updates. If you were presented with conflicting testimony to describe how you would arrive at a factual conclusion, even when it sometimes conflicts with your own personal opinion.
Would I have to, in those situations, are the decisions made that night, or do you have time to collect more evidence and data? Do you have time to say bring in information?
You have time to look at information ahead of time.
Oh,
Usually, and you usually make a decision that night. Some sort of decision. Sometimes it can be to delay or whatever, but there is usually a decision that evening.
all right. In that case, if even with all the information, you're still conflicted, the greatest good for the greatest amount of people in the town. So how many will be positively impacted by the decision and go with the larger number? If you really are on the fence with the 50-50.
And you have criteria. It's not like you're shooting in the dark.
Okay. Yeah.
So, HPV requires advocacy, learning, and understanding the built environment and cultural heritage of the city. Are you willing to commit time outside of HPB meetings to educate yourself? And that may be, there's a Saving Places conference once a year that you can opt to go to. You don't have to. Sometimes there's a little bit of education and there's some additional things like going to look at a building. So that's what that's kind of geared towards.
Yes, absolutely. That sounds fun.
Okay, we have a couple minutes left. Do you have any questions?
You already said it's once a month Mondays. I like that there's opportunities outside. All of the information's given ahead of time. So all of those things make me feel more confident that I'd be a good fit for any of the boards, and those kinds of setup, I can thrive. So yeah, I'm excited to have an opportunity to jump in. And
how about architectural plans? I think that was one of the hardest things for me on the board, to learn how to read architectural plans.
It's funny, I just finished our CAD unit today, so I don't know if I can read architectural plans, but I teach engineering, so I would assume I could quickly get up to speed.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
No, I can't think of anything else.
Thank you very much for taking time to apply for this board and the other board you applied for. So thank you very much, and you have a wonderful evening.
You as well. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much, Beth. All right.
Mayor, we do not have our 610 yet.
Do we have anyone else?
Nobody else is in the lobby right now.
Okay.
I'll let you know when I get someone.
Thank you.
Okay.
610, Trevor. All right. So Karina, how's the snow?
We're on
really good.
recording, just so you know.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
aware.
really
I'm aware. How's the snow?
cold, but
Oh, yeah.
we got probably a few inches last night, so it was nice and a nice dusting this morning. And it's
I know-
midweek, so it wasn't busy.
I know at Winter Park, Mary Jane, they took away the having to call in to get a time or day to ski. Are they still doing that up your way?
Yeah, you still have to make a reservation to ski.
Yeah, they did it away at Winter Park, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
It's kind of harsh if you missed it. I think if you missed your reservation and you didn't call in, I think it was like you had to wait 30 days or something ridiculous.
No, I don't think that's how they were doing it for Vail Resorts. I haven't heard that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's some goofy thing. I know that.
yeah, that's tough.
I don't think they were doing that at Winter Park either, because Kevin missed a couple of days and he was able to go in his next.
Was he able to get a
schedule.
reservation? Yeah, that was part of the rules up there, but whether or not they enforced it, I don't know. But that
Yeah.
was cool.
Did Tabernash get a bunch of snow? They got
Yeah,
a bunch of
Tabernacle
snow?
always has lots of snow. Yeah, it's
But
beautiful.
They need it.
Well, this is our snowy part of the year. People don't understand that.
Keep it coming.
Keep it coming.
At Keystone, I just got my lift ticket and
All right. Yeah,
Was
it's easy enough to get a ticket to get on now.
I did it in advance.
It's always less expensive that way.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming up on pretty soon with our next one, Carrie.
Still
That
no
was
one in
correct.
the lobby. No one in the lobby, Mayor.
Nobody. And you confirmed with all the candidates?
Yes.
All right.
Was there any setup issues with a Teams call versus Zoom? I've had that with other meetings that.
No, these were all people who were able to get in fine on a Teams meeting the first time they interviewed.
Okay.
So.
I'll be right back. I'm grabbing some water.
All right. Where did you ski today, Karina?
Breckenridge.
Oh, love Breck.
Yeah. We skied on peak 10, which is when you're facing the mountain, it's all the way on the left. So there's less people that way, although it wasn't crowded at all. It wasn't crowded at all.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yes.
And there's more trees on that side, so that was nice too. Yeah, it makes me, and it's just so good for the soul to be out there, you know, mountain fresh air, and so nice. So
Oh,
nice.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Yo.
Carrie is in the lobby.
Oh, why don't we go right to Carrie? She's on time. Let's go to Carrie.
Absolutely. Here you go.
Great, thank you. Hi, Carrie. This is Jerry. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you for joining us. All right, you've been through this routine. We have about 10 minutes. I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Grove.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you for your application and interest in a Historical Preservation Board. I have a couple questions for you. Have you read the powers and duties of this board? If you haven't, I can kind of give you a brief overview.
I did, and I kind of started reading it again, but if there's any highlights, Pam, that would be great.
I'll just give you quick highlights, and then the question is going to be, do you think that you could have any concerns about your abilities to perform duties? And basically what you do, what the Historical Preservation Board, I'm going to call it HPB because it's a mouthful, makes recommendations to City Council on historic districts, on landmarks, design guidelines, and mainly concerned about downtown, but other historic buildings around Littleton. Does some educational programming, walking tours, something you're interested in, you don't have to. Reviews applications for changes in land use or historic buildings. And the meetings are held on the third Monday of the month at 6:30 once a month. Any questions, concerns about that?
No, it's definitely an interesting board. I live close to Main Street, and we value, we walk down often. And so as a family, or my husband and I, so we value all the work that's been done so far, and I really appreciate the history of Littleton, and you know, how it kind of ties into the future as well.
Wonderful. Have you looked at the mission of the Historical Preservation Board? If not, I can tell you.
Do you mind? I'm sorry. I was running around spring break this week, so I'm sorry I didn't get to read more about it.
That's okay. I'll give you a quick overview, and you can tell me a little bit about what you think about it and how you might be interested in pursuing that mission. HPB works to preserve the built environment, so that means buildings, that gives Littleton a unique sense of place. HPB encourages reinvestment and compatible growth, which enhances Littleton's economic vitality. What does that kind of mean to you?
I think that, you know, it's kind of the brand of the city, and then how that really translates to the owners of you know, shops and companies, and kind of the livelihood and economy of the city, and how that all ties together to really, it's really important for businesses and citizens, and just kind of the overall culture and kind of brand of the city.
Okay. Describe how you have personally been inspired by a Littleton preservation project, if you're familiar with any of them.
And would one of them be like the depot? Is that one the art, or I also, that is one we often walk by. That's kind of our route. So that's one, and we have often seen the signage. So we appreciate the signage that talks about the history of the buildings. And I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, and so when we're on walks, you know, even though sometimes I can't always gain their interest, I will say, hey, look how cool this is. This is what this used to be. And look at how neat this is. In the Littleton Museum, similar things, you know, talking about, you know, they have no frame of reference with that. So I think it's important to educate the youth and the community on kind of where we've come from. And I especially think when we walk through the museum, all the history about, just the dairy and all the different things that have happened kind of in the community over the years, and just old pictures of, the Main Street area and just how it's evolved, but also kind of still looks a little bit like it used to, which I think is really great. And it's still kind of the lifeblood of a big part of our community. So that signage I really appreciate. And I think that's really a cool and accessible thing for all of the, citizens or visitors to Littleton too.
And HPB has a big hand in that.
Yes.
What other buildings besides the depot that you mentioned or areas in the city are worth preserving that are not part of downtown?
Yes. So I definitely we spend most of our time in that downtown area.
If nothing comes to mind, that's fine.
Yeah,
But
it doesn't really come to mind, but I'd love to learn more. And I do think that whatever outside of downtown, I don't know if there's cemeteries or churches or other buildings of importance. I think that downtown is a great, central area that people really know, but I would be very happy to help support any other initiatives that are outside of downtown as well.
Okay. HPB is a quasi-judicial board, which means it acts like a judge on certain land use and building updates. Mm-hmm. When presented with conflicting testimony, describe how you would arrive at a factual conclusion, even when it might conflict with your own personal opinion.
Yeah, so I have a background in human resources, specifically in recruiting. So I feel like that is in a different way, of course, but you always have to stick with the facts. And what are the facts, and what are the two or multiple sides telling you about the situation. And then, of course, you would, I don't know how it works on the board, but certainly working with your peers and kind of discussing it and having thoughtful discussions and collaborating on, what the solution is together. I think that's why these boards, I'm sure, are very effective, because there's a lot of people that come from different backgrounds to kind of bring together and decide on important issues that, there might be conflicting, things or the things that I don't necessarily agree with, but I can always appreciate someone else's opinion or where they're coming from.
And you do get criteria, so you're not shooting in the dark.
Okay. Yes.
HPB requires advocacy, learning, and understanding of the built environment and cultural heritage of the city. Are you willing to commit time outside of HPB meetings to educate yourself on preservation issues? And this might have to do with, there's a once a year seminar, you don't have to go to, but it's an option. And there's kind of some other kinds of things like that that might be helpful. Is that at all a problem?
No, I would be happy to read up and do some more, reading or visiting places, certainly going to seminars. I think I really want to give back. That's why I applied for the boards and commissions, because I want to give back in some way to this community that we love so much, and we have been thriving here as a family. And so I would be happy to do kind of extra credit or anything above and beyond that would be helpful to my position on the board if chosen.
One of the hardest things I think I found is reading architectural plans. How's that feel?
Yeah, that might be a challenge. I don't have experience with that, although I do love, like, the theater that's downtown. I just love architectural details. And so I'm sure the documents are a little drier than, visually viewing a building, but I think I would be very interested to kind of learn about that. And I since I appreciate them kind of in a novice way, I feel like that wouldn't be, I don't know, you can tell me, but maybe that would be helpful. I don't know.
No, willingness to learn is half the battle, and there are architects on the board.
Okay.
We have about a minute left. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. Are you looking for someone in particular with certain skills, or, anything that you're looking for in particular for this vacancy?
Enthusiasm, willingness to learn, willingness to come to the meetings, that kind of thing. Architectural background is always helpful, but not necessary, because we're lucky enough to have a couple architects on the board. So.
Oh, that's great. Well, I definitely feel like I can contribute enthusiasm and willingness to learn. So that's good.
That sounds good. Anything else?
No, thank you so much. I appreciate the time and all the things that you do for the city. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your enthusiasm and coming tonight. And you have a nice evening.
You too.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. And I see that we have our next one up, Colleen.
We do.
Let's move right in.
Here you go.
Hi, Brandon. This is Jerry. How are you tonight?
Hello. Good to see you again.
Yes, good to see you as well. And thank you for coming back with us again for another round. I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Grove.
Hello, Brandon. You know the drill, our little 10-minute short questions. And if we have a minute or two at the end, you can ask a question or two. The first thing I wanted to ask you is, have you read the powers and duties document for this board? And if you haven't, I'll summarize it.
I have not read the powers and duties of the board. I do have the website pulled up at this point in time, but I haven't read exact.
I can kind of summarize them for you, because basically my question is going to be, do you have any concerns about your ability to perform these duties? Basically what the Historical Preservation Board members, which I'm going to call HPB because it's a mouthful, they make recommendations to council on historic districts, landmarks, and design guidelines, mainly in the downtown area, but throughout the city when there's other historic buildings. Assists in education programs, things like walking tours, which are kind of fun that the members don't have to, but it's kind of fun. Review applications for changes to historic buildings, and the meetings meet once a month on the third Monday of the month at 6:30. So any problems doing any of that? Okay.
No, that's what I thought. So no, that all makes sense. That's great.
Okay. I don't know if you've read the mission of the Historical Preservation Board. Okay, so how do you believe you can advance the mission of HPB?
Yeah, where I see where HPB is, two things going on: a good ULUC process, and then I think there's great expertise in the area. You think of Kim Field and Rick having that expertise, and I think two things I bring to the table. One is a natural community connector, and I think if you think through some sort of opt-in historical code to downtown, helping connect and massage and discuss and being a liaison with business owners and HPB board. Secondly, when I had hair, I was a tour guide at the University of Georgia, and part of the things I had to do there was actually communicate the history of the university in novel ways and try to find novel ways to help us communicate history, because for some, history can be kind of as boring as the professor in Viewer's Day Off, but it actually matters. It creates a sense of place and uniqueness. So I think the two things I kind of bring to the table, one's just connection, and with that, kind of bringing people together. And then the other's like ideation and helping think through like new ways to express Littleton's history.
When you gave tours, did you walk backwards?
I did walk backwards. I did.
Yeah. I always was a kind of interesting skill.
Yeah, it is an interesting skill, right? I haven't thought about it. Well, yes.
Describe how you have personally been inspired by a Littleton preservation project, if there's anything that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think I resonated with some of this earlier, and I talked to this in our previous interview. The one I go to again is the Littleton Museum, because it was so impactful for us. We're moving into this community. I was moving away from Franklin, which is a strong sense of place. I mean, it's historic, all of downtown, Civil War town. And I remember walking to the Littleton Museum and watching my kids explore everything, and like getting a sense of I'm part of a story greater than myself, and my kids feel at home here, and that kind of spoke to us. And so that was one of the reasons we moved into this community. And it's so grateful, for that asset in Littleton.
It's wonderful.
Yes, it is. Yes.
It's wonderful. What other areas of the city are worth preserving that are not in downtown?
That's a great question. You know, I think of local parks, and then, you know, this is not preserving, but won't go with development opportunities.
And keep in mind, HPV deals with the built environment, with buildings.
Yes. You know, honestly, you know, I think of one place that's not downtown, but a unique place is, you know, what's Aspen Grove in the middle of redevelopment, experience retail. Those conversations are going on. How do we make that uniquely Littleton? That's a huge shopping center area right in the cusp of that change. And I think that's something we need to think thoughtfully of, you know, as the future goes on.
Okay. HPB is a quasi-judicial board, which means sometimes the board acts as a judge, often on things like land use or building changes. When presented with conflicting testimony, describe how you would arrive at a factual conclusion, even when it might conflict with your personal opinion.
Yeah, that's a unique question too. Well, I think one is not let emotions get in the way of preferences, you know, but listen to law, codes, bylaws, expertise on the board as well, and get that sense. You know, I think I would need a little more a specific example as far as that goes. But when I think about serving on the board, and it's an old sports analogy, I'm sorry, like it's my baseball player coming out on me, but you play for the name on the front of the jersey, you know, so you play for what's the best and what's good, not for your own personal preference. You let that go.
And just so you know, you get criteria. So you match the criteria against the changes. Yeah. So it's not like,
yes.
And how about dealing with architectural plans? That was one of the hardest things for me to learn.
Yeah, you know, I think I'm not an architect by trade, but I think I'm a natural learner and acquisitive and willing to yield for more expertise and eager to learn more of that timing and things as time goes on. But I hear as well, there's some well-suited people on the board to handle some of that and teach and train too.
It sounds like you're familiar with some of the members. Yes, there are some architects and we rely on them a lot.
Yes.
In the last minute we have left, do you have any question that you want to ask?
Yeah, well, it would be helpful to know just since this was kind of a quick turnaround, what's the state of the board at this point in time and what are you kind of looking for as far as vacancies go?
Well, there's one vacancy left and looking for enthusiastic people that are willing to commit, that care about Littleton, that will be consistent and willing to learn, because there is a pretty steep learning curve when it comes to this board.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming tonight, and we appreciate your applying for the last board and for this board. And you have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, you too. Have a great night all.
Thanks a lot, Brandon. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, Colleen, any word from Trevor?
None.
None. All right, well, I think we should go ahead and move on forward.
Mm-hmm. So I just need one name from each council member. And again, we'll do those in the chat.
Can we talk a little bit first?
Absolutely.
Sure. Absolutely.
They were all good.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were.
I agree.
All right. Well, let's put some names out there if no one else has anything. So we can type up a name here, right? What do we got here? Let us know when you're ready. Anytime, Colleen?
I'm ready. I've already got Scott's and Kelly's.
All right.
Where should I look for my chat button, Colleen?
Up at the top, you see where the people are?
The little thought bubble.
Yeah, the bubble.
Show participants?
Right next to it.
The little message bubble next to it that looks like a cartoon bubble.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
It's been, what, 3 weeks, 2 weeks
It
since I
has.
did this before? I don't remember how.
boy, Pam is deep in thought here.
Harry.
Pam,
I
don't look
know,
at the,
it's
you're supposed to
tough.
choose your, don't look at the names, Pam.
It's a tough one.
It is.
Did you get mine, Colleen?
I did, Carol, thank you.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
got through it.
All right, Pam.
Okay. We have one vote for Beth Michelle's, one for Carrie Feeney, and 5 for Brandon Addison.
All right.
So if I could very quickly, just to be clear on the movement that we're making, and I believe some of this may have been covered in your mayor's meeting, Jerry. When original votes were done, Paige Alcorn was appointed to the alternate 2 position with 6 votes. Should we then move her into the vacant full-time position?
Yes.
And then Jason Henderson was placed as alternate 2 with 4 votes. But do we want to move him to 1 since he was in the first round? And then
Yeah.
Brandon will be
I think that
alternate 2?
That would make sense. Yeah. We'll
Okay.
put Brandon.
Okay. I will take care of it.
All right.
All right. Well,
And
then
I will get this put together for you so you can have it to move on consent on April 6th.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thank
Great.
you, Colleen.
Thanks. Bye,
I think
everybody.
that's it. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a
All
good
right.
night. Kristen.
Bye-bye.
And bye-bye.
Thank you, Colleen.
Happy to help.